Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Come back again with me, Maulydia Alfi, in course Sociology Education. Here I will share a little knowledge about equality of educational opportunity, a look at social class differences and inequalities. Okay, before I say what an equal educational opportunity is, we need to say what an opportunity is in general. Peter Weston provides a helpful definition of an opportunity that can be applied to the education sphere. For Weston, an opportunity is a relationship between an agent or a set of agents and a desert goal mediated by certain obstacles, none of which are insurmountable. For instance, Alice has an opportunity to become educated mediated by obstacles such as enrolling at a school, putting in hard work, and the quality of her teachers. To employ this concept in the context of education, we need to answer questions about who the proper agents are, what the appropriate goal or goals are, and what, if any, obstacles are legitimate. For example, if we take admission at a highly selective college as our goal, and the citizens of some country as our agents, we might think that meeting a certain academic requirement, such as passing an entrance exam, is a relevant obstacle that should be permitted to stand in the way of the goal. In this context, we will also think that an applicant's race, sex, or religious affiliation should not be obstacle. When the appropriate group face only the relevant obstacle with respect to the appropriate goal, we can say the equality of opportunity obtained between the members of that group. For instance, Alice and Belle have equal opportunity to attend a selective university if, all other things being equal, the only obstacle they face is passing an entry test, which is a relevant obstacle. They do not have equal opportunity if Alice also faces an irrelevant obstacle, such as race-based discrimination that Belle does not face. I will tell you what is educational opportunity. Educational opportunity are those opportunities that aim to enable individuals to acquire knowledge and certain capacities. Most commonly, we associate the goals that constitute educational opportunities with access to educational institutions such as schools and universities. But apprenticeships and professional development and training also provide educational opportunities. In addition, there are many informal types of educational opportunity. These include public debate and lectures, as well as time spent reading, practicing, or thinking outside of a school context. Most contributors to debate about equality of educational opportunity focus on opportunities that are made available through public K-11 and higher education institutions. The reasons for this are similar to our reasons for being concerned with educational opportunity in the first place. Okay, next I will explain you about equality of educational opportunity, a look at social class differences and inequalities. This chapter focuses on the connection between social stratification and the educational system. Social stratification refers to the organizations of people in society into socioeconomic strata that is different and unequal positions based on the traits associated with social class, namely income, wealth, education, prestige, and power. Social class socializations and educational inequality. Educational inequalities exist with respect to race, class, and gender. Those related to social class are the deepest and most enduring. This is especially evident in the fact that college completion rates for the lowest income groups have not increased in the last 40 years, despite massive expansion of the system of higher education. In the early years of schooling, social class inequalities exist in terms of performance on standardized tests, and in later years, with respect to whether one goes to college enrollment, where one goes selectivity, and whether one graduated attainment. In this section, we describe the primary socialization of children from different social classes. This socialization lays the foundation for students' later experiences in schools and highlights the class-based assumption of how schools operate. Systematic sources of difference. It is clear that social class differences exist in childhood socialization, and that these differences differentially equip children from school success. Statistically significant differences in tests of academic achievement exist even before children enter the school system, and persist through 8th grade on into high school. In this picture, we know that illustrate the achievement gap that exists in 4th and 8th grade between students who are eligible for free or reduced lunch, students with poverty or low income status, and students who are not. From sociologist Sean Reardon, a leading expert on the social class gap in academic achievement, has found that the social class gap in education actually expands as children move through the educational system. Therefore, another side of the debate implicates the school system itself in perpetuating class inequality. These critics point towards the system of funding and the allocation of resources, as well as practices within school with respect to tracking and quality of instructions, as either causing or not doing enough to close the social class gaps in education. In this next section, we focus on the process occurring within the school system, showing whether and how these dynamics shape social class differences and inequalities in education. Inequalities in school funding and resources. As anyone who has participated in competitive school activities knows, schools vary considerably in terms of facilities and resources. While your high school might have an impressive stadium with nice bleachers and beautiful green fields, the opposing team might play with shoddy equipment and collapsing field court and rusty bleachers. Attending a debate competition may similarly reveal differences in library facilities, access to technology, and coaching resources. So, why do schools differ so much in their resources, and how do these differences matter? Any understanding of class inequalities in the educational system begins with a discussion of how the principle of localism informs school funding in the United States, and how the localist system of funding may exacerbate class differences in educational opportunities. The principle of localism guides the structure of education in the United States. This means that while it's taught in schools how teachers are hired, fired, and evaluated, and how schools are funded are determined at the local level, namely by each state and its district. For causes such social class disparities in educational environments are cause for concern because they both create different and unequal opportunities to learn and generate different and unequal desires to learn. Among the things that schools can control. Researchers generally agree that teacher quality has the most significant impact on student learning. Teacher quality is a broad concept and includes traits like years of experience, general academic ability, and scores on standardized exams. This is because students see their school as a reflection of their worth as students and draw conclusions from it about whether education matters and will pay off. For some students, resource differences matter because in their science labs, books, and computers, landscape campus, they see an investment that will pay off. The structure of schooling and instructional differences across schools. Teachers in schools serving economically privileged children, by contrast, emphasize independence, creativity, and critical thinking. Students in the school were taught to see themselves as creators of knowledge, whereas their less privileged peers were socialists to see themselves as passive recipients of knowledge. Because education is delivered by teachers and because teachers have the most sustained and direct impact on students, researchers wonder whether social class gaps in education may be produced at least in part by the social organization of school and pedagogical variations across schools. Like the textbook of privileged students, encourage higher order thinking and emphasize competing worldviews and multiple interpretations of cultural and historic events. In schools serving lower income students, textbook provided a narrow and sanitized version of history. Social class tracking and instructional differences within school. Consider for a moment your own educational experience. Did it ever feel as if there were separate schools within your schools? On an academic level, were there separate worlds within your high school? It's not simply that differences between schools contribute to class inequalities in education. The mechanism that links tracking with social class differences in education is the method by which track placements are made. Research shows that track placements are closely correlated with students' socioeconomic backgrounds by Michel and Oikes. That is, affluent students are more likely to be enrolled in higher track classes, while less affluent students are more likely to be enrolled in standard academic courses and vocational tracks. Exceptional advantage: the case of elite private schools. Inequalities between schools are especially evident in the case of elite private prep schools that look and function as a combination of a fancy country club and Hogwarts or a classic English college. Ultimately, elite prep schools cultivate in their students a sense of privilege and importance and pave the path of students to ascend to positions of power and privilege. Although these schools offer already privileged students an advantage in maintaining their privilege. Social class and equality of educational opportunity, the transition to higher education. As the period of compulsory schooling comes to a close, about age 16 until 18 across the United States, students face the choice of dropping out, stopping at the end of high school, or enrolling in some type of post-secondary education. All of the inequalities embedded at the macro level, of the school system combined with the influence of peers and family to shape the students' thought about the feasibility and desirability of higher education. In a society where the college for all mentality remains strong, many students move through high school with little information about options other than a four-year degree. Despite the obvious economic benefit associated with completing a college degree, significant social class disparities exist in whether students enroll in college, where they enroll, and whether they finish their degrees. Looking first at social class disparities in college enrollment. Show that since the early 1980s, students from higher income families have been significantly more likely to enroll in college directly after high school compared to students from lower income families. There is the explanation I can convey. Hopefully, it is useful and makes it easier for us to understand the material. I apologize if there is a mistake because actually the truth belongs only to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Thank you for your nice attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.